can't take enough money out of $1 billion to educate our children. That we have to prioritize how we spend our dollars now, and everything in our community is designed to take that dollar that comes in on Friday and do 180 Saturday. And it's gone. Pack of cigarettes, $8, the liquor, and they make it readily available.
Oh, yes.
To you. So we got to attack those sources and
bad.
basically just start with the people that's buying this.
Too bad we don't have the phone number for Liquorama. We could call and find out how much stuff costs. It's just the one place it survived. But we were driving down here, we saw the little building by the railroad tracks is gone and stuff is closed up down here. But Liquorama,
It's
you know,
still
still.
There's been a big controversy about neighborhoods, African American neighborhoods. Everybody should be concerned, but they keep putting up these liquor stores. Everywhere. You can go over here on Broadway and see a whole bunch of them.
But you know why they keep putting up liquor stores?
Well, because they want to capture the people who live there.
Because people keep buying liquor.
That's right.
And check
Absolutely.
cashing places.
Oh my God.
Is another.
That's terrible.
Jonathan often said that we pay money to get our money.
Yeah.
So you got to pay to get that check cash. You realize how much money is being taken out of our community by people just cashing checks.
Right.
And we have to change that. Why can't get banks to come in and introduce people to banking? At least it don't. You know how much money we would save in a 30-day period if everybody had a bank account and could cash their check at a bank and not pay that $5 or $10 or whatever it costs to cash that check. I don't know about Waterloo, but many places there, it's $5 100 to cash your check. So if you got a $200 check, that's $10.
But those are the folks who are getting off easy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Those aren't the folks who got the payday loans.
Payday
Right.
Who are kicking back $15, $16 on 100
Exactly.
because they had to borrow on their paycheck.
That's right.
So the folks going into Walmart and where it says, well, we'll just cash your check cheap.
$5.
And I think it may be $3, but it's okay because they don't expect you to leave with nothing anyway. It's like casinos where they feed you prime rib and shrimp and lobster because they know that once they weight you down, you're going to go back to the slot machine.
Right.
You know, the idea is that we cash your check and then you don't leave with anything left. And we'll even let you pay your power bill and get your dry cleaning out at the store because we don't want you to leave with nothing. And this is where, I don't know if anybody wants to call in and take a shot at the economic development, question we asked. But what we did is we sat down and said, what are the things that we need to do to begin fixing our community's economy? Well, we said things like credit reparation.
Okay.
Well, once you say credit reparation, and this is on the way to creating a plan, you now have to determine, is this something that is a long-term goal or a short-term goal? Well, that's something we can do year one. Now, what resources do we need? Because whenever you propose a solution, you should have a fiscal note, a human resource note, a timetable, and an anticipated outcome attached to it. So now, what kind of human resource note do we need attached? Well, we need people with expertise in credit reparation. Well, where can we begin going? Do we have money to basically hire people? Well, the truth is when we look at that particular thing, we don't necessarily need to. Banks have people that they will help you with credit reparation initiatives. The Federal Reserve has a wonderful financial literacy program. There are resources out there that can come in and help you to construct credit reparation initiatives. And so we have our time, then we just determine our timetable. Where do we want to hold these? Do we want to hold these regionally at a common community center? Do we want to try to schedule these in 2 or 3 churches that are maybe spread out? In Waterloo, you have the good fortune of a lot of the community be concentrated on the east side. In other communities like Des Moines and Cedar Rapids, they're more spread out with a much more diverse segregation indices. And here's how we begin taking an issue that we need to address that will help us, and we construct a scenario around it, and then we can fit it in our plan. Home ownership is something else. In 1970, 55.4% of the African American community lived in homes they owned. Now, because the census has done such a horrible job, they say 30%, 35%. In some census tracts, it's below 20%. But as we begin the process of moving folks from renting to home ownership, you're talking about tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars over the life of a mortgage, either going towards equity, where we now own property and have accumulated wealth, or enriching others who then turn around and reinvest it in building housing complexes and keeping us in a perpetual ghetto.
Yeah.
So that's maybe home ownership may be a longer term goal. And as we begin the process of one by one saying, we need financial infrastructure. We need to teach home economics to folks. If folks learn how to cook and it tastes good
versus buying fast food and running out of money.
Frozen food, oh my goodness, it's terrible how people go and buy everything that you can believe that you can put in the microwave.
And it creates an entirely different dynamic if we can do that. So there, there are a number of things. We had a list of 25, and that was just created in a few minutes of things that can be done. And it's the same thing with health. What are our health issues? Well, type 2 diabetes. Is that something we can do something about? Absolutely. Obesity. Is that something we can do something about?
In our control.
And so now we start saying what's short term, what's long term. What resources are available to bring in to help us? And then we can basically put together a plan of action. And this is what I think is going to be the most exciting service the initiative provides, is we're going to get folks from the talking and complaining stage to the knowing how to do it right and getting it done stage.
Right. Question for both of you. In this whole conversation about going forward, and as I said earlier, we definitely have been off the path. And this sounds like it could be a part of getting us back on the path. And every community will have to look at its own needs and wants and either adopt what's already been done or make up something of their own, as long as there is a intended solution to the outcome. But excuse me, people, I have realized, can talk about any subject that comes along, but you never hear them talking about the real concerns and what is happening. Excuse my voice. The question that I wanted to ask and get an opinion on, can what you have documented and what you brought forward, this group, do the job without the church in trying to restore, not trying, but restore the family, the extended family?
Well, I would answer it this way. There are things that can be done without the church and family in theory, but two of our major objectives is to rebuild the family and to strengthen the church. And so, so often we've been told it's an either or. Either you operate in a set, like most of us are Democrats, and so the Democratic Party says leave your faith at the door. Well, the reality is that we don't have to pick and choose. When we had the initial press conference, they asked us some questions, and we said, well, here's what we're going to focus on: voter empowerment, education, health, justice, economics. rebuilding the family, rebuilding our faith, leadership training. Those are the things we're going to focus on. And we're setting our agenda, not reacting to what other people think our agenda should be.
Okay.
Can I read a quote for you from Marcus
Certainly.
Garvey?
Absolutely.
He said, "For us to examine ourselves thoroughly as a people, we will find that we have more traitors than leaders, because nearly everyone who essays to lead the race at this time does so by first establishing himself as the pet of some philanthropist of another race, to whom he will go and debase his race in the worst form, humiliate his own manhood, and thereby win the sympathy of the great benefactor who will dictate to him what he should do in leadership of the Negro race. These leaders tell us how good Mr. So-and-so is, and that if we leave everything to them, all will work out well." Well, we went to the Central Library to a meeting that the state Democratic Party leadership called with the head of the National Democratic Party in town. And they were asking for faith leaders. We had ministers there. This is what one minister does. "I don't know what y'all talking about. I don't understand. Y'all talking over our heads. You got to talk down to us. You got to talk down to us."
Wow.
And now they looked at her. Now when I quoted data earlier, they looked at me like, well, how did he get in the meeting? But when she was talking, I thought that they were getting instructions to the raptor. I thought, I didn't know they coming back. I missed the rap. They was just engrossed. They're like, she is so wise.
Yeah.
Didn't they? He was there. You can't make this stuff up. You can't, and this is part of the problem, that when we talk about fixing our problems as a community, we have leadership that goes to folks and says, our kids ain't nothing, our men ain't nothing, our women ain't nothing, we ain't nothing, give us a check. Instead of saying to us, if you put down the bottle, okay, take a holiday from liquor and tobacco and the ribs and the pork rind for a week, you can open your own school, literally. We don't hear that. And it's time for us to hear that. That we don't need other folks to take care of us. We need to take care of ourselves. You don't need, regardless of your position on Romney Care or Obamacare, if you want to get healthy, start walking, quit eating so much, go to bed on time, drink more water. There are ways to get healthy without a $1 trillion appropriation from the government.
Okay.
There are ways, you know what, you don't need folks come. You know one of the reasons why folks don't give back in our community? Because we wait for other folks to come in, pick our kids up, take them to Little League and Scouts. Then when they grow up and they make something of themselves, we say, well, give back. They do. They give back to United Way. Because that's, and the Boys and Girls Club, because that's who took them to basketball practice, not us. We sat back and said, oh, it's somebody else's job to raise our kids. You know what? All you need to do is get a basketball and find a court, and you can have time with your kids. And the time has come for us to say to our folks, quit making excuses. You didn't call anybody to help make the baby. I've said this on other shows. I never got the call that said, since I expect you to help raise the baby, come help make the baby. I never got that call. We need to start saying, love your kids and raise your kids.
Well, you know, the single family is a rough road to hoe. But I really am convinced that if we don't start with our children and try to help the parents of these children to become more responsible, spend time with their children and so forth. And one of the things that is really, really, I don't know how to overcome it, but one of the things that just stands out is that the extended family are all in jail. So it used to be if a person died, if they became, had a disability, if they needed something, everybody in the neighborhood would be a part of that. And now we don't even look at sometimes there are 3 and 4 members of the same family in jail. Imagine